What's going on, everybody? It's Baseball Just with the Dugout Dialogue. And you know what? Can't get a hold of the boys. 20-something-year-olds have a lot going on in their lives, apparently. So I decided there's too much going on in baseball, especially around our teams, for us to just sit there and be silent. So I decided I'm going to record solo today and see how it goes. And let's be honest, we're going to start a new phrase. It's called fuck Duke, fuck Alec. And just because we love to say it around here, fuck Dave. Okay? Fuck Dave. But mainly, like really, we just say fuck Dave because it's what we say. Really, what I'm saying today, fuck Duke, fuck Alec. Look, I got a middle finger for both of them. It's great. It works out. But you know what? We're going to keep it moving. So fun, exciting things going on. One, finally made it to a baseball game this season, y'all, which is saying a lot because last year I was at more than one game by this point, probably about 3 or 4. So it's been rough for your girl, but I made it. I got to see them play the Giants. We won 4-0. My favorite part, I got to see Strider pitch. I will say, number one favorite pitcher for the Braves right now. He's fantastic to watch. And he's just fantastic to see pitch. He had 10 strikeouts. He is just a great pitcher. The Braves do have some great pitching, but some of their pitchers, Freed, very hot and cold. There's no warm, there's no rhythm, there's no nothing in between. It is just very much hot or cold. You get a lot or you don't get a lot. And that's hard to watch. That is very hard to watch sometimes. But I got to see Strider. It's always fun to go to those games. If you're ever in Atlanta, I highly recommend hitting up Truist Park, hitting up the Battery. If the Braves aren't at home, the Battery is fantastic. It is beautiful. They have this whole green area with a big giant screen where they will definitely they put the game up for you to watch. All the restaurants are open. The restaurants are fantastic. The shopping's fun. They have great activities out there. So you can go anytime if you can get into Truist. It's a really beautiful park. And I personally love going. Tickets typically aren't that bad, but I'm also comparing to like Wrigley prices. Keep the kid. There's always a kid. But I'm super excited. I get to see them again at the end of September when my Cubbies come into town. So fingers crossed, hopes and expectations highly managed. But speaking of my Cubs, we are 3.5 games back in our division right now, which I'm not mad about. We're second to Milwaukee. We'll see how Milwaukee pans out for us. Milwaukee's kind of a touchy subject. I did heckle them. Side note, did heckle them the first time I ever took my kids to a official Braves baseball game. Fun side story about that. Company seats right on the third base dugout. Literally right on, can't even put your food in front of you because you are on their dugout. They would laugh and giggle at my kids dancing. They did not like my comments, especially when I cheered very, very hard for Jock Peterson. Braves had just acquired Jock from the Cubs that season. It was fantastic, though. It was, I want to hope that I was enough to annoy them. I don't think I hurt anybody's feelings. I think you got to have thick skin to be in that dugout, no matter who you are, what side you're on. But I hope they thought about it. That's all. Anyway, so as far as the wild card race, it is the Phillies and the Cubs right now. Phillies are kicking ass, but the Cubs are right behind them. Realistically, though, I'm going to give my honest opinion out there. I don't see the Cubs as a postseason team this year. I haven't. My expectations have been pretty well managed about them this season. Quite frankly, I am, surprised they made it this far. I was happy to see a team gel, to get that momentum, to see them working together and kind of giving me the vibes of that 2015-16 team where they work well together. They work hard together. They are cheering each other on. They're gelling. They're kind of, we had a lot of new players. We got some new players at the deadline, it's just, you have to manage your expectations as a Cubs fan. I always say I'm cautiously optimistic. Always. And my daughter has decided that the ketchup has to fart, which is super funny. So I try to manage all my expectations with them, cautiously optimistic. The fact that we got here, that we recouped, we didn't let a slump really knock us on our asses. I'm super excited about, to be quite honest. So this is more to me indicative of what we'll see in the coming seasons. It kind of really depends, I believe Bellinger is only on a 1-year deal. So we'll find out if the Cubs really want him or if they're going to spend that money somewhere else. And I wouldn't blame them. I mean, the schedule, they're in a series with Detroit right now. Okay, beep the kid. Then we play Pittsburgh, Milwaukee. Milwaukee will be a good test for us. I do believe that. And like I said, September is pretty packed. And after that, end of September, right before postseason, gotta love it. The Cubs will be in town, and I will be at that game. We'll be at that Thursday game, and I cannot wait. I am so damn excited. So damn excited. Definitely wearing my Swanson jersey. I don't care what anybody says. Give me all the stats you want. He's consistent. He's dependable. That's all I could ask for his first season there, plus going on the IL within that time as well. So, it's been a big couple days. A piece of news that I found earlier, Julio Rodriguez getting, I don't know if should know who he is. In all fairness, it took me a second. But he plays for the Mariners. Apparently, broke a record. Broke the NL record. He got 17 hits over 4 games, and he was just crushing it. So that was some fun excitement. I'm going to be honest. I wrote these notes up to record with the boys. I wrote them up to record with the boys. And again, I'm going to reiterate. Fuck Duke, fuck Alec, and I just say fuck Dave because that's my favorite thing. So one of the questions I'm prepared to ask them is who so far as a team has been their biggest disappointment? And I'm going to be honest. I think I've been pretty consistent in seeing things. Now, I did think that the Angels were going to go farther than they have and have a better season. The problem with that is they really did rely too heavily on 2 players. You cannot rely on 2 players, even though 1 player counts as 2 himself, right? So I think they became a disappointment. And then, just kind of watching the Yankees, they're such a nostalgic team to watch them just disintegrate and crumble and be one of the worst teams in the MLB this year. I mean, I don't know. It's really bad. As of yesterday, they were on an 8-game losing streak. The Yankees are 17 games back in their division. 17. 1-7. 1-7. I think next season they really need to take a look at their clubhouse, really take a look at who's on, the payroll, who needs more development, maybe. Is that it? Do they go back to some old school mentality on it? Maybe not totally. I mean, I don't think at this point in baseball in general, you can totally discount analytics, right? Like they play a valuable part, but do you kind of push them as the secondary for what you need and kind of go old school and kind of go back to the basics of baseball? Do you bring in a bunch of hot shots that are super heavy on the analytics and hope that just boosts what you do already? Do you look for players as you rebuild this team that have that old school mindset? I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think Yankees are done for the season, obviously. I think it's going to be interesting to see moves they make in the offseason and how they come back during spring training, to be quite honest. They may not be, winning a World Series every other year, but they're a pretty heavy hitter. And I just, again, it's going to be interesting. We've seen the shift in baseball over the years where it's become so heavy on the analytics, pull back on all of the old school, the basics, the routine, personally, I think there's room for both, but I think you need to make more room for old school. I think a lot of times things become overcomplicated, and baseball's definitely become one of those things. I think when you put more emphasis on the tried and true and just boost those with that extra razzle dazzle of all the analytics and having that information, I think they can work very well together. The problem is, I think a lot of clubhouses have become highly analytical. And the thing is, you can only predict so far and you can only assume so far. At what point do you get back to a position of being able to read people? That's kind of, in my opinion, now granted, never played baseball, been around it my whole life, absolutely love it. One of my favorite sports, constantly learning, constantly absorbing information, constantly listening to books written by previous coaches, and piecing it all together in my brain. So keep that in mind. Not like some AJ Przinsky out here with the podcast trying to analyze it from an experience point of view. But or even Jake, Jake Arrieta's got one out there. And again, these guys are great. Somebody who just loves it. I love that you have to be able to read people. There is a certain level of that. You have to go into those first few innings and really be able to kind of feel out, they typically go towards this, and this, but they're not feeling right. Something's off. So it'll just be interesting to see how the Yankees organization handles it and how they decide to approach things. Because we've seen a lot of clubhouses just crumble and not be able to recoup and not be able to put the magic pieces back together. So, so that's just that's my 2 cents on it from all the information I've gathered in my non-professional opinion. I mean, hey, I'm just a girl who likes to talk about baseball. More exciting news. So there's 2 more things that I want to discuss. One is pretty brief, but Trout is back, which I know Duke is probably excited for. Unfortunately, Trout left over a month and a half ago. He last played on July 3rd. He's not coming back to the same team, nor is he back the same. He was 1 for 4. Let's, kicking the dust off. I do worry. They had a doubleheader today. He was not on the list to play the first game. He was playing the second game. They're trying to ease everybody's concerns. It's fine. He's just sore. Should he have done a rehab assignment? I think so. I don't think you guys really got a shot at anything. So why rush him coming back if he's your franchise player? Still stand behind the statement that I've been making that The dude deserves somebody to buy out his contract. He deserves a ring. And if he wants to go back, like so many other players have done, this trend of like, yep, I'll sign a 1-year contract. Our agreement is I get to retire out of this jersey. This is my home. You know, Brian McCann did it. Jake Arrieta was going to do it. Fucking Cubs. Fucking Rick. That whole year of selling everybody off and not even giving Jake Arrieta the ability to retire in a Cubs jersey. You got to be fucking kidding me. I don't hold many grudges. That one, get me in front of that fan. Get me in front of those owners. Because you think your owners are bad? Our owners, I don't even think they know they own a baseball team, to be quite honest. I don't know what they think they own, but they don't know shit about baseball. That was my sidebar. So, anyways, we will see. We'll see how he does. Hopefully they didn't push him back too soon. I think he should have done a rehab assignment. I also think they're trying to reach for whatever they can grab. But the biggest thing I saw, and I wish Alec were here, is all the Sox news happening all around us. So if you have not heard, if you aren't paying attention, the Sox have made some big moves. And I don't know what the fuck they're thinking. Okay. So first up, the Sox fired Ken Williams, who is the executive vice president, and they fired Rick Hahn, the senior VP and general manager. And I'm trying to make sure I've got it all written down. I'm a notes person, side note-ish. So I wanted to make sure I had my stuff correct, because when I read who they were bringing back as a consultant, I had to double check that the man was still alive. They are bringing back Tony LaRussa as a consultant at 79 years old. So if you don't know who Tony LaRussa was, he was the coach for the Sox in last year. And it's very well thought. I think that if he hadn't stepped down due to his health, which, dude, you're almost 80. You had to step down for your health. Duh. You could be in good health. You probably still should step down. You've been a baseball player. You've been a coach. You've done all these things. It might be time to spend the next whatever you got left. I'm not even going to put a number on it because heaven forbid I do that. Something's going to happen. Enjoy the time you got left. Now, some think that Jerry owed him. Fired me. Clearly, I wasn't the problem. Your team cannot get itself under control. Here's my thing. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Actually, that's really it. What are you going to do? You are bringing in somebody who is almost 80 years old to consult. Now, granted, y'all ain't going nowhere. You don't even have to show up for your last games. You could show up, and the other teams actually really don't have to show up, is really how it goes. I retract that statement. You go to the games, and the other teams don't have to show up, and you're still not going to win. You're still not going anywhere. You still have a clubhouse full of little boys who do not know how to control their emotions. And here's the thing. You know, it sounds like that's been the culture of the Sox for a very long time. Fine. That culture doesn't work with the men of this generation. It may have worked 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. That's great. It doesn't work nowadays. You have men in that locker room that cannot turn it on, turn it off. Call it toxic, call it whatever you want. I think it's more toxic that they're starting a bunch of fucking fights with each other. That they are throwing down on the field for no fucking apparent reason, getting knocked out, and then somehow appealing your 6-game suspension. When, I'm just letting you know, the league has a record of not overturning their shit very easily or quickly. It is rare. You threw your glove down first. You squared up first. You start throwing the first punch. There are better ways. You're such a great player. Fucking prove it. You're a leader. Fucking prove it. Now, what the Sox think about bringing in damn near 80-year-old to consult, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. I think it was a scrambling move. I think it was the only person they could get to come back that would be associated with the whole franchise, to be completely honest. I don't think they had anything else. You could say what you want. You could say Jerry owed it to Tony, but I don't think Jerry could get anybody else. I don't think anybody wants to touch that hot pile of shit, because until you get your house right, those players have no respect. They have no respect for their space. They have no respect for the front office. They have zero respect spread around. So how are you really going to change that, Jerry? How are you going to change it? Because I could tell you, with the other news that came out of relocating that field and that stadium in the White Sox, you're not going to do well. Now, depending on the relocation deals, depending on the selling deals, depending on where they go, which, I'm sorry, even as a Cubs fan, like, the Chicago White Sox are such an institution. Like, what the fuck are you going to do? Are you relocating where they play? I'm going to be honest. I didn't do that much research into it. Either way, I think it's a bad move. Call it as I see it. You don't have an issue getting Sox fans out there. You have an issue with fans being disgusted by the way you handle your front office, being disgusted by the way your players act and behave and think it's okay, and not developing these players and not developing not just who they are as ball players, but who they are as leaders. You know, if you ask me anytime, excuse me, my reasoning for loving baseball, part of it is it's just a sport that I love, and I could spend hours listening to it, watching it, all the things. But the number one thing for me is every time I watch a game, whether I'm there in person or I am out there, I'm just watching it on my TV or on my phone, whatever. Every time it is a bunch of guys, a bunch of boys who fell in love with the game and now appreciate how lucky they are to make a living, making more money than most people will ever see in their lives, being heroes to kids and heroes to grown men, heroes to me. I mean, geez, the reason I fell in love with Jake Arrieta was because of something he did that was very tasteful. Wild card game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's up to bat. They're chirping. And instead of, sitting there and clearing benches, he shut you out in 9 innings. He said, fuck you, in the best way possible. You can bark at me. You can chirp at me. You can say whatever you want. But I know I'm right. You're wrong. That's it. So there are very tasteful, very classy ways. I mean, you see it all the time. They start barking at each other and they start rounding off home runs and just glaring each other down. Nobody throws a punch. Nobody's an asshole about it. It's the name of the game. These are a bunch of little league boys that got the opportunity to play the game they love, set their families up for life, and they are just living their best life. They're joking, they're having fun, they're celebrating, they're making, whatever it is. I mean, as much as I loved seeing the Cubs win, if you've never seen a video of the Cubs and the Braves playing each other when Rizzo was on the team, and it was a horrible game as far as score goes, but they let Anthony Rizzo pitch. and he pitched to Freddie Freeman and struck him out with a 60-mile-an-hour pitch. There is him mic'd up, and you can hear him as they get him in a get Freddie in a pickle, going, Freddie, Frederick, Freddie. They're just a bunch of kids. So, Jerry, what are you going to do with your kids? How are you going to get them to behave before society makes them behave? How are you going to do something? And I'm sorry, bringing in Tony LaRussa is not going to fix it. Again, I'm just going to end my little soapbox spiel with this. My thoughts are Tony LaRussa is only back because it's the only person Jerry could get to touch this team right now. And if Jerry doesn't make decisions quick and effective decisions, not yes man decisions, that franchise is going to go down for the next few years. And if you move that team out of Chicago, I don't even know what's going to happen. There's so much history there with them, with the rivalry with the Cubs. There are so many dedicated fans of the South Side. We may give each other shit, but South Side fans, most of my family are South Side fans, ironic enough. And I love them. I love going, and bantering back and forth because at the end of the day, you know what? If the Sox made it to the World Series and my team didn't, I'm rooting for Chicago. And vice versa. The amount of Sox fans that I saw root for the Cubs in 2016 was insane, just out of respect. Chicago fans on their own are just this whole breed. And Jerry, you better fucking figure it out. So I'm starting to think I don't need the boys. But maybe now that they see, they'll get their shit together. But either way, I got to go. I got to eat and kids to take care of that have been running around rampant around here. If anybody knows of a good babysitter in Atlanta, hit me up. And that is it. So thank you. I don't know. I don't even know how to end this without anybody. Oh, real quick. World Series pick. I'm still going with the Orioles and the Braves are going to take it. So just know that as much as I'm a Cubs fan, I know where we stand. And I know the Braves are going to the World Series this year. So mark my words or don't. I don't give a fuck what you do. But at the end of the day, fuck dude. Fuck Alec. And as we all like to say here, fuck Dave.